All right, well, get ready for some economic calamity, folks. The doomsday clock is ticking perilously close to sequester Armageddon. And by all accounts, except for maybe Congress's, we are going to go past it. Now, we've heard so much about the sequester for the past couple of months, and yet today, just hours before these cuts are set to kick in, President Obama has finally invited top lawmakers from both parties to the White House to hammer out a last-minute deal. Meanwhile, the rest of Congress has headed home for a 4-day weekend. So if they're not worried about the sequester, should we really be? Well, joining me now is comedian Allison Vingiano. She's here to answer that question and more. Allison, is this the end of the world as we own it?
I think so, Megan. I think anybody who has watched the news recently, who has read their Twitter feed, who saw the Academy Awards last weekend, is pretty clear that the world is coming to an end. Just this morning, I went to pour a bowl of cereal, went to get milk, and I had no milk. And I'm pretty sure that's the fault of the sequester. And tomorrow, there are probably going to be delays to all of our flights.
That sounds like a pretty serious thing.
Yeah, I mean, the military is probably going to disappear overnight.
You can't cry over spilled milk if you don't have any milk to cry over. But
exactly.
I want to play a quick clip from you from the media mayhem kind of surrounding this issue, and then I'll get your opinion.
Sure.
That so-called sequester.
The sequester?
Sequestered.
Sequestered. The sequester was something that was meant to be so stupid and bad that it would prod Congress.
We have been told by the Attorney General our country will be less safe because of it, starting this weekend.
Will the consequences be dire, or is the Obama administration crying wolf?
Doctors and hospitals say the sequester's Medicare cuts will lead to the loss of more than 200,000 jobs.
Now, Allison, obviously we spliced in some silly end-of-the-world clips in there, but the conversation does make it feel like we're heading toward calamity, right?
Yeah, absolutely, totally. Yeah, I don't know who hired Bruce Willis to write all of the copy for the news this week, but it definitely seems like it's an Armageddon 2 situation or a Die Hard 6 through 10. I mean, I feel like the last time the news made us fear something this severely was covering the war on Christmas in December of 2012. I think that it seems like this terrible situation.
So let me ask you, why do you think the politicians insist on playing chicken with the economy?
I think it's the easier route to take. I think this is a classic situation of a scrawny boy being picked on and a bully, and it's hard to stand up to the bully. They might take your lunch money, or you might pee in your pants and have to cry to your mom, or you might lose some of your constituents taking a stance that your platform might not agree with.
So who's the scrawny kid and who's the bully in this case?
Well, I think that the U.S. government is not taking the full responsibility of actually coming to a decision and making a choice. And I think the tax cuts has been a huge problem here. And I think that we need everybody to kind of be willing to come to take the necessary cuts and to come to an agreement tonight.
So if you had to cut one program to save the U.S. cash, what would it be? How about the politicians' paychecks?
Well, the politicians' paychecks, or we could just cut all of Homeland Security, right? I think like now that we have Homeland, the TV show, maybe that'll do.
Oh. All right. Now, the whole point of the sequester was to force Congress into facing these debilitating deadlines, so to say, to come to real financial reform terms. Is it ironic that we aren't going to meet this so-called debilitating deadline, or is it just a fact of life that people won't always agree?
I think it's just a fact of life right now. Between the debt ceiling crisis, the financial crisis, we're so accustomed to hearing the word crisis. I would be much more surprised if the headline read, government comes to an agreement and everybody's okay with it and things are great. I think that this like boy who cried wolf crisis situation is something that we've become so accustomed to and has been so ingrained in our heads that it's just a way of life.
Well, it does make for good TV, if nothing else, to have these looming financial crises. I do want to thank you for coming on the show. Comedian Allison Viggiano, thank you so much.
Thank you.